Welcome back. So today we're going to look at two of my favorite Adelaides. We have the George Cleverley Adam and the Crockett & Jones Westbourne. Now these are similar shoes in terms of quality. I have a few differences that I wanted to point out. This is going to be in a pebble grain, where this is going to be in a smooth chestnut calf. This has a finished closed channel or blind stitched sole, and it has a really nice fiddleback waist, where this has a typical Goodyear welt with a regular grooved stitching and a plain waist. It's a somewhat narrow waist, but still a plain waist. So some differences there. Now, these are both Adelaides, meaning that they have cap toes, they have the U-throat, and they both have heel caps. Now, on the Crockett & Jones, this is just a straight heel cap, and it has a seam down the middle. Here, you have a peaked heel cap, but you also have the seam down the middle. So, some interesting things about them. The George Cleverley, my understanding is that this is the first model of the cap toe Adelaide, and that this is kind of the standard by which all others are set. If we look at the quality of the heel stack here, you can see that that's a lot of very thin layers of leather. You can also see that on the Goodyear welting, they did a beautiful job on the edge here, creating this very, very thick groove, which, sorry, I just hit the camera there. You can see this edge right there that goes around. That's really nice. This is the kind of handwork that they can do on the machines, but is harder to do, and so it requires additional skillcraft. Now on this, you can see that they have that groove, they've ironed it, they've got the edge on the top and the bottom. Let me just make sure that that comes into focus there. But it's not as pronounced as it is on the other one. So as we look here, I mean, it's definitely there, but not as pronounced. So we're here, you just have this really, really sharp edge right here. The other does not have that. Now, the waist is very narrow, as I said before, not as narrow. Right? And this, of course, has the carving. I mean, somebody actually took time to carve down into that fiddleback. Of course, they have the two tones that they painted. The heels themselves are very close, although the Cleverley is, you've got this tapered edge here, so it gets shorter for the waist, right? It just looks better like that. And then, of course, the fact that this is blind stitched and this is just an open stitching is a difference as well. Now, if you look at the shape is remarkably similar. Here, let me actually zoom out here. Here. This, you can see here, it has 2 rows of nails, okay, and is a chisel. All right. Now this is also a chisel. Has a little, I think it gets a little bit wider, considering they're the same size shoe, but they're, and that's because the sole sticks out a little bit further from the shoe. If you look at this is just slightly more tapered than this one. Just at the sole, right? The shoe itself is remarkably similar. So here, let me just get it there, and you can kind of see how that's set there. So very, very nice shoes. Both are really good examples of high quality, very, very strong craftsmanship. Now, where are some differences? Stylistically, this has a medallion on the cap, which does add a little bit of detail to it. The medallion is almost in contrast with the fact that it's pebble grain, which I think is kind of cool. And this is plain. has a much larger cap. So if you look at the two side by side, you can see that that cap is quite a bit higher. And that can be good if your shoes fit perfectly. You can see my crease on this is right here. If my crease was up here, that could be a problem for me with being a longer cap, because I don't think it's as, I think it's unsightly when the cap itself creases. So that would be another thing. Now you can look, one of the things that I learned when I was doing my first Adelaide shoe battle was that I looked at the width of the U-cap. That changes a little bit on the style and the way that it looks. But these are remarkably similar, so not a big difference there. Now you'll notice that this has a little bit of contrast color around the U-throat and around the cap and so forth. That's just polishing that I did, so I'm not going to count that, because that's not something that is on the shoe. That's just the way I decided to polish them. So overall, I think that they're both fine examples of Adelaides, and certainly something that I like in this style. They're both good examples. I really like the way the toe rises here before it cuts over. That rise is actually pretty important to me as I look at new examples that I'd like to add to my collection. I don't always go for that. Sometimes I go for the more rounded look, like on my Gaziano and Girlings. It really depends on the last of the shoe and how I think it looks overall and how it all fits together. So anyway, this is the comparison of the George Cleverley Atom and the Crockett and Jones Westbourne. I hope you found the comparison helpful. I'd welcome your comments. Let me know what you think.